Imagine walking into a room where every person is busy picking sides. Some are whispering in corners, others are plotting alliances, and many are trapped in endless cycles of rivalry. Now imagine you stand in the middle of it all, untouched, unbothered, and touchable. You belong to no camp, yet everyone respects you. You are no one's friend, but also no one's enemy. This is the strategy of the untouchable. Throughout history, the most powerful and resilient people were often not the loudest, not the most popular, and not the ones surrounded by friends. Instead, they were the ones who mastered a unique balance, never getting too close, never creating unnecessary enemies, and always maintaining independence. But why does this matter to you? Because in today's world, whether you're navigating school, work, business, or even social media, people are constantly being pushed to take sides. You're expected to belong to a group, to support one agenda, to oppose another. And yet, the more you tie yourself to others' battles, the more vulnerable you become. The truth is simple. Those who rely too much on friends are betrayed, and those who collect too many enemies are destroyed. The only way to rise above the chaos is to step outside of it. In this video, we'll dive deep into the philosophy of no friends, no enemies, the strategy that makes people untouchable. We'll explore why this approach has been used by rulers, thinkers, and survivors across time, how it gives you power in a world built on manipulation, and most importantly, how you can start applying it in your own life. So if you've ever felt caught between loyalty and betrayal, or if you've ever wondered how to stand strong in a world where everyone seems to demand your allegiance, then stay tuned. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some people cannot be broken, cannot be controlled, and cannot be touched. Because sometimes the greatest power is not in choosing sides, but in refusing to play the game at all. At its core, the philosophy of no friends, no enemies is about building strength through neutrality, independence, and detachment. It doesn't mean being cold or antisocial. It doesn't mean avoiding human connection or living in isolation. Instead, it's about refusing to tie your survival, your identity, or your success to the unpredictable loyalties of others. Let's break this down. When you make someone a friend, you often open yourself up to expectations. Friends come with obligations. You're supposed to take their side, defend them when they're wrong, and sometimes compromise your own interests to keep the relationship alive. Over time, these obligations can trap you. A friend can become the very chain that limits your freedom. On the other hand, when you make someone an enemy, you've just handed them power over your life. An enemy watches you, plots against you, and forces you to live in reaction to their actions. Every move you make is colored by the need to win or defend yourself. Even if you rise high, the weight of your enemies drags you down. Now imagine you step outside both categories. You're neither friend nor foe. You are simply yourself, whole-centered and unbothered. People can't easily manipulate you because you know one blind loyalty. People can't destroy you because you're not entangled in their conflicts. You exist in a state of balance, respected but not dependent, feared but not hated, known but not owned. This is the position of the untouchable. It's a strategy built on the understanding that human relationships are unstable by nature. Friends turn into competitors, allies become rivals, and enemies sometimes disguise themselves as helpers. By refusing to tie your identity to these shifting roles, you remain free. Think about it like this. The world is a massive chessboard. Most people are pawns locked in alliances, moving because someone else pushes them. Others are knights, bishops, or rooks, stronger, but still bound by rules. The untouchable person, however, is like the empty space on the board. No piece can capture it, yet every piece must move around it. That's the essence of the strategy. It's not about withdrawal, but about rising above the entanglements, that drain most people of their power. To truly understand the power of living with no friends and no enemies, we need to look at the people who mastered it. History is filled with men and women who built their strength not by alliances, but by carefully keeping themselves above the fray. Their lives show us why this strategy works and why it often leads to respect, longevity, and power. Let's begin with one of the most famous examples, Niccolò Machiavelli. The political thinker from Renaissance Italy, Machiavelli lived in a time of constant betrayal, shifting loyalties, and endless power struggles between cities, kings, and popes. He noticed something that few dared to say out loud. The friend of today is the enemy of tomorrow, and the enemy of today may become useful tomorrow. For that reason, he warned rulers against binding themselves too tightly to either side. Instead, the true survivor was the one who played above the chaos, neither fully trusted nor fully hated. It's this observation that inspired many of his writings, and that still rings true today. Another striking figure was Emperor Ashoka of ancient India. Early in his reign, Ashoka was ruthless, making enemies everywhere. But after the bloody Kalinga War, he changed his strategy. Instead of trying to win friends through gifts or destroy enemies through war, he positioned himself as neutral, universal, and untouchable. He shifted from personal battles to promoting principles, compassion, justice, and dharma. People could not categorize him as friend or foe because he no longer played their game. His reign became one of the most stable in Indian history. Fast forward to modern times, and you'll see this same philosophy alive in people like Warren Buffett. Despite operating in one of the most cutthroat industries, finance, Buffett is known for staying out of personal rivalries. He avoids unnecessary enemies, but also doesn't chase superficial friendships in business. Instead, he focuses on his principles, patience, long-term thinking, and independence. That's why, decade after decade, he remains not only wealthy, but respected and unshaken by the storms that take down others. Even in pop culture, this strategy appears. Think about characters like Varys from Game of Thrones or even the Mandalorian in Star Wars. Both survive by avoiding blind loyalties. They offer cooperation without entanglement and respect without devotion. Viewers instinctively sense that such characters are untouchable because they cannot be cornered by friendship or destroyed by rivalry. And it's not just about famous leaders or fictional heroes. Look around you, the person in your workplace who seems respected by everyone, yet close to no one. That's someone practicing this strategy. The student who isn't caught up in cliques, but still commands admiration. That's another example. These individuals are rarely dragged into drama, rarely betrayed, and rarely defeated because they've learned the art of being present without being entangled. So, whether we look to emperors, thinkers, billionaires, or even the quiet observer in your own life, the pattern is the same. Those who rise above the labels of friend and enemy often become the ones who cannot be touched. Now that we've seen the idea in history and examples, let's break down why it actually works. Because this strategy isn't magic, and it isn't just philosophy. It's rooted in psychology, human behavior, and the way social systems operate. The first reason it works is psychological detachment. When you are not bound by the constant push and pull of loyalty or rivalry, your mind stays clear. Friends often expect you to take sides in their conflicts. Enemies force you to focus energy on retaliation or defense. But when you step outside both categories, you free your attention for what really matters: your goals, your growth, your vision. Detachment sharpens your focus. The second reason is perceived strength. People instinctively respect those who stand apart. When someone is not overly friendly but also not hostile, they create a sense of mystery. Others begin to think, this person doesn't need me, but they also don't fear me. That balance creates an aura of quiet power. You become someone who doesn't beg for approval and doesn't waste energy on petty battles. And people are naturally drawn to that kind of energy. The third reason is strategic flexibility. If you are known as a loyal friend to one side, you automatically inherit that side's enemies. If you're locked in a rivalry, you're tied to their fate. But when you belong to neither, you can move freely. You can cooperate today and step back tomorrow without betrayal. You can listen to both sides without being consumed by either. This flexibility makes you a difficult target because you're not predictable. The fourth reason is emotional protection. Betrayal often hurts the most when it comes from friends. Obsession and bitterness drain you when you dwell on enemies. By choosing not to bind yourself with those labels, you protect your emotional stability. You're less likely to be crushed by disappointment and less likely to waste years fighting pointless wars. And finally, this strategy works because of social positioning. In any group, workplace, community, or even family, there are always factions. But the person who manages to stay neutral, respectful, and above petty disputes often becomes the one everyone turns to. You're not seen as a threat, but also not as weak. You become a reference point, a steady presence. And that's where real influence begins, not by joining sides, but by standing so firmly alone that others can't help but respect you. So the no friends, no enemies approach is not about isolation. It's about control. It's about protecting your time, your mind, and your emotions, while also building a reputation for independence. It is about rising above the tug-of-war that destroys most people and instead standing so tall that no one can reach you. It's one thing to understand this strategy in theory, but the real question is, how do you apply no friends, no enemies in your own life? Because you don't have to be a ruler, a billionaire, or a philosopher to live this way. You just need to shift the way you handle relationships, conflicts, and expectations. The first step is setting boundaries without guilt. People will always try to pull you into their dramas, whether it's coworkers gossiping, relatives demanding loyalty, or friends dragging you into fights that aren't yours. If you want to stay untouchable, you must learn to say, "That's not my battle." It doesn't mean you don't care, but it does mean you protect your energy. Every time you refuse to get entangled, you grow stronger. The second step is keeping your distance in friendships. This doesn't mean you can't have people you care about, but it does mean you avoid overdependency. Never make your happiness, your success, or your identity completely tied to another person. Share moments, but keep your core self intact. That way, if someone betrays you or walks away, your world doesn't collapse. The third step is refusing to create enemies unnecessarily. Sometimes we think we need to stand our ground by making everything a battle. But in reality, most conflicts are distractions. You don't have to respond to every insult, prove yourself in every debate, or clap back at every provocation. Silence is often more powerful than reaction. If someone tries to make you their enemy, don't give them that satisfaction. Simply rise above. The fourth step is communicating with neutrality. In groups, avoid taking sides too strongly. Learn the art of being diplomatic, listening, acknowledging, but never binding yourself to a faction. For example, if two colleagues are arguing, instead of saying, "I support you and not them," you can say, "I see both perspectives, and I'll focus on my work." Over time, people will realize you're someone who can't be weaponized. The fifth step is focusing on principles, not personalities. If you want to be respected without becoming entangled, make it clear that you live by values, not favoritism, whether it's honesty, discipline, or professionalism. Let people see that your loyalty lies with your principles, not with individuals. That way, you avoid being dragged down by others' mistakes while still earning deep respect And finally, the sixth step is building inner strength. Because at the heart of this strategy is self-reliance. When you don't depend on constant approval, when you don't need a group to validate you, when you don't fear being alone, you become unstoppable. The less you need from others, the less control they have over you. That's what it means to be untouchable. Apply these steps consistently, and you'll notice something remarkable. People will begin to treat you differently. They'll respect you without expecting ownership. They'll fear disappointing you without seeing you as their enemy. And slowly, you'll find yourself in that rare position where no one can truly corner you, the position of power that comes from having no friends, no enemies. So, what have we uncovered? The world constantly tries to force us into roles: ally or opponent, friend or foe, loyal supporter or sworn enemy. But the truth is, those roles are traps. Friends can betray you, enemies can consume you, and both keep you tied to battles that aren't truly yours. The strategy of the untouchable, of having no friends, no enemies, is not about rejecting people or living in isolation. It's about refusing to be owned by attachments or destroyed by rivalries. It's about standing on your own ground so firmly that no one can shake you. When you free yourself from the need to belong to every group, when you stop wasting energy on feuds, when you let go of the illusion that loyalty must come before your peace of mind, you unlock something most people never find: independence. And independence is the highest form of power. Think about the people we've explored. Machiavelli, who observed the instability of alliances. Ashoka, who transformed enemies into irrelevance. Warren Buffett, who thrives by staying outside the chaos of rivalry. They didn't rise by choosing sides. They rose by standing apart. And you can do the same. So the next time you feel pressured to pick a side, remember, you don't have to play that game. The next time someone tries to drag you into their drama, remember, that's not your battle. And the next time you feel tempted to bind yourself too tightly to a friend or an enemy, remember, balance is stronger than attachment. Because the people who are hardest to touch are not those with the most allies or the fiercest rivals. The untouchable ones are those who rise above both. Now ask yourself, are you ready to step out of the tug of war? Are you ready to stop living as someone's pawn, someone's defender, or someone's opponent? Are you ready to claim the quiet strength of being untouchable? If you are, then start today. Protect your energy. Refuse unnecessary battles. Live by principles, not by sides. And build yourself into someone who cannot be broken, because you have no chains holding you down. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more powerful insights, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments, what is one situation in your life where you could apply the no friends, no enemies strategy starting right now? Remember, the strongest person in the room isn't the one with the loudest allies or the fiercest enemies. It's the one who stands alone, unshaken, and untouchable.